Welcome back to the deep dive. AI in journalism is something we just gotta talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
And today we're looking specifically at the ethical considerations with, all this AI stuff.
Right.
Our main source is a blog post by Esteves Jr.
Okay.
It's called Desafios éticos do uso de IA no jornalismo, o papel do ChatGPT. This was just published December 28th, 2024.
Wow, so brand new.
Super timely piece.
Yeah, everyone's talking about AI these days, right?
It really is.
And for journalism, it's especially interesting
Totally.
because it gets to the core of how we create and consume information.
Exactly. And it's moving so fast.
I know, right?
Seems like every day there's a new tool or development.
Yeah.
So with this article, what should we be paying attention to?
Well, Junior really dives into the potential impact of AI tools like ChatGPT on the whole journalistic process.
Okay.
Specifically, how things like ChatGPT can be used to create entire articles.
Whoa.
Like full articles, well-structured,
Yeah.
comprehensive at incredible speeds.
So that sounds amazing from an efficiency standpoint,
Right.
especially for journalists working under tight deadlines.
Right.
I imagine that speed comes with some trade-offs, though.
Definitely.
What are some potential downsides Junior highlights?
One of the big ones is the possibility of these AI tools being used to spread misinformation.
Okay.
ChatGPT, as advanced as it is still limited by the data it's trained on.
Right.
So if that data contains inaccuracies or biases,
Yeah.
those can easily be reflected in the content it generates.
Makes sense. Garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But isn't it possible to use these tools in a way that minimizes those risks?
Well, Junior argues that transparency is absolutely crucial.
Okay.
He suggests that news organizations need to be upfront with their audiences about how they're using AI in their reporting.
I see.
Think of it like a nutrition label for your news.
Oh, okay.
You have a right to know what went into making it.
I like that analogy. And Junior even provides some concrete steps journalists can take to be more transparent.
Right. Like what?
He suggests using ChatGPT itself to generate transparency statements,
Oh, wow.
like adding a note at the end of an article
Okay.
that explains how AI was used in the research or writing process.
I see.
He even gives specific prompts to help journalists do that.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
So in a way, he's advocating for using AI to create more ethical journalism.
Yeah.
But what about the role of human journalists in all of this?
Right.
Does AI threaten to replace them altogether?
Well, that's a question a lot of people are asking.
Yeah.
Junior's take is that AI should be seen as a partner,
Okay.
not a replacement.
Gotcha.
He argues that human journalists will always be needed
Yeah.
for their critical thinking skills,
Mhm.
their ability to evaluate information and make ethical decisions.
Right. Okay. So AI can handle some of the more mundane tasks,
Sure.
but it can't replace those core skills of a good journalist.
Exactly.
What are some other challenges journalists might face when integrating AI into their work?
One that Junior highlights is this potential for algorithmic bias.
Can you elaborate on that a bit? I think a lot of people hear that term,
Sure.
but aren't really sure what it means in practice.
Essentially, these AI models are trained on massive data sets of text and code.
Right.
And those data sets can reflect existing biases in society,
Okay.
like underrepresentation of certain groups or viewpoints.
Yeah.
So if a journalist isn't careful, they could end up publishing content that perpetuates those biases without even realizing it.
So how can journalists guard against that? Is it even possible to use these tools without falling into that trap?
Junior believes it is possible,
Mhm.
but it requires journalists to be incredibly vigilant.
Okay.
He suggests using specific prompts to get ChatGPT to analyze text for parental bias,
Interesting.
and then manually reviewing and editing that content with a critical eye.
So it's all about using the technology thoughtfully and responsibly.
Exactly.
That makes sense. It's like any tool.
Right.
It can be used for good or bad.
Yeah.
It all depends on the person wielding it.
Ex-
Okay, so we've talked about some of the potential dangers of AI in journalism.
Right.
But are there any upsides?
Yeah.
Does Junior highlight any ways AI could actually enhance journalism?
Absolutely. He sees a lot of potential for AI to help journalists do their jobs better and more efficiently.
Like how?
For example, he suggests using AI to transcribe interviews,
Okay.
analyze large data sets, or even generate initial drafts of articles based on factual information.
That's fascinating. So it's not about AI replacing journalists,
Right.
but rather augmenting their work and giving them more time to focus on the aspects of journalism that require human expertise and judgment.
Exactly. And I think that's a really important distinction to make.
Yeah.
AI can be a powerful tool for good,
For sure.
But it needs to be used in a way that upholds the core values of journalism.
Yeah.
Accuracy, fairness, and accountability.
I couldn't agree more. So far, we've explored how AI could be used for both good and bad in journalism. But one point that stands out to me from this article is the need for clear guidelines and policies around its use.
Yeah, I agree.
We've seen the power of AI,
Right.
but we need to ensure this power is wielded responsibly.
Absolutely.
Junior even provides some specific steps news organizations can take to create ethical frameworks for using AI, doesn't he?
Yes. He suggests using ChatGPT to help create editorial policies around AI usage.
Okay.
This includes things like outlining when and how AI can be used in the newsroom and what steps need to be taken to ensure transparency and accountability.
It sounds like he's encouraging journalists to be proactive in shaping how this technology is integrated into their work.
Exactly.
Rather than just reacting to it as it evolves.
Right. It's about taking ownership of the process.
Yeah.
And ensuring that AI is used in a way that aligns with the core principles of good journalism.
And ultimately, it's about building trust with the audience, right?
Creatively.
If readers feel like they're being kept in the dark about how AI is being used, it could erode their trust in the news media as a whole.
For sure.
So transparency is key. That makes sense to me. But let's move on to the next discussion point.
Okay.
So far, we focused on the producer side of things.
Right.
But I'm curious what this means for the consumer.
That's a great point. It's one thing for journalists to use AI responsibly.
Mm-hmm.
But what about the people reading, watching, and listening to the news?
Yeah.
How can they navigate this new landscape and make sure they're getting accurate and unbiased information?
That's what we'll unpack next.
Great. Let's dive in. So we've talked about how journalists need to be mindful of how they use AI.
Right.
And that transparency is key to maintaining trust with their audience.
Absolutely. But how can we, as consumers of information, be more discerning in a world where AI-generated content is becoming more prevalent?
You know, it's a good question.
It feels like we need a whole new set of skills to navigate this landscape.
Yeah, you're right.
Like a media literacy 2.0.
Exactly.
To keep up with these advancements.
Yeah.
And Junior touches on this in his blog post, right?
He does.
He argues that it's not enough to just be aware of the potential for AI-generated content,
Right.
but we need to be able to critically evaluate that content and identify potential red flags.
Exactly. He suggests we ask ourselves a few key questions when we're consuming news.
Like what?
For example, who created this content?
Okay.
Is the source credible? Is there a clear disclosure of AI usage?
Okay.
And perhaps most importantly, does this information align with my existing knowledge and understanding of the world?
That last one is really important. It's about trusting our gut instincts.
Right.
Not blindly accepting everything we read or hear,
Yeah.
even if it's presented in a slick and professional package.
Absolutely. Think of it like this. Just because an article is well-written and seemingly well-researched
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's accurate or unbiased.
Right.
AI can easily mimic human writing styles, but it can also amplify biases or inaccuracies present in the data it's trained on.
So it's more important than ever to check sources.
Yes.
Consider different perspectives and be wary of information that seems too good to be true.
That's right. And it's also important to be aware of our own biases.
Well, that's a good point.
We all come to the news with preconceived notions, worldviews, and those can influence how we interpret information.
It's like we need to apply the same level of scrutiny to information that we do to the food we eat, right?
That's a great analogy.
We check labels, we consider the source,
Yeah.
we try to make informed choices.
Exactly. We need to develop an information diet that's as healthy and balanced as our physical diet.
I love that. So we focused a lot on the challenges,
Right.
the potential pitfalls of AI in journalism. But I'm curious, does Junior offer any solutions or reasons for optimism?
He does.
Does he see any ways in which AI could actually enhance journalism and benefit society?
Absolutely. While Junior emphasizes those ethical considerations, he also acknowledges that AI can be a valuable tool for journalists. He sees it as a potential partner,
Okay.
something that can enhance their work and help them produce more impactful and insightful content.
I like that, a partner, not a replacement.
Right.
Can you give us some concrete examples of how AI might be used in a positive way?
Well, think about the time-consuming tasks that journalists often face. Things like transcribing interviews
Yeah.
or analyzing large data sets.
Okay.
AI could automate or streamline those processes,
Right.
freeing up journalists to focus on higher-level tasks,
Like what?
like investigative reporting,
Okay.
in-depth analysis,
Hmm.
and building relationships with sources.
So AI could handle the more mundane tasks,
Right.
allowing journalists to dedicate their time and energy to the aspects of journalism that require a human touch.
Precisely. And it's not just about efficiency.
Okay.
AI could also help journalists uncover stories that might have been missed by human eyes.
How so?
Imagine using AI to analyze vast amounts of data and identify patterns or trends that could lead to groundbreaking investigative reports.
That's exciting to think about.
It really is.
It's like using AI to connect the dots,
Mm-hmm.
reveal hidden truths.
Exactly. And it's not just about investigative journalism.
Yeah.
AI could also be used to personalize news delivery,
What do you mean?
ensuring that people are getting the information that's most relevant to their lives and communities.
That's a fascinating idea. It could help combat the echo chamber effect.
Yeah.
And expose people to a wider range of viewpoints.
Right. And it could also help news organizations better understand their audiences and tailor content to their specific needs and interests.
It sounds like Junior believes that AI has the potential to make journalism more efficient, more insightful, and more relevant to people's lives.
He does, but he also stresses that realizing this potential requires a conscious effort
Okay.
on the part of both journalists and news organizations.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about blindly adopting every new AI tool that comes along.
Yeah.
It's about being thoughtful and deliberate in how these tools are used, always keeping in mind the core principles of ethical journalism.
So it's a balancing act.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the potential of AI
Mm,
while also being mindful of its limitations
Right.
and potential pitfalls.
exactly. And it's about having a clear vision for how AI can be used to enhance journalism,
Yeah.
not undermine it.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the future of journalism in the age of AI, but I'm curious to get your personal take on all of this.
Sure.
As someone who's been immersed in this field for years,
No.
what are you most excited about when it comes to AI and journalism?
You know what excites me most is the potential for AI to help us break down barriers and connect with people in new and meaningful ways.
Like how?
Imagine using AI to translate news articles into multiple languages,
Oh, wow.
making information accessible to a global audience.
That would be amazing.
Or using AI to create personalized news feeds that cater to individual interests and learning styles.
Oh, cool.
The possibilities are really endless.
Those are fantastic examples. It's like using AI to democratize information,
Yeah.
empower people to become more informed and engaged citizens.
Exactly. And that's a future I'm really excited to be a part of.
Me too.
But as with any powerful tool, we need to use it wisely and responsibly.
Right.
That's why conversations like this are so important.
Absolutely.
We need to keep talking about the ethical implications of AI.
Yeah.
And we need to work together to ensure that it's used for good.
Couldn't agree more. This has been such an insightful conversation.
Yeah, has.
But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more point that Junior makes in his blog post.
What's that?
He argues that the integration of innovation and ethics is the way to prepare journalists for the challenges of the digital age.
I love that framing.
It's not about choosing one over the other.
Right.
It's about finding a way for them to coexist.
I agree. It highlights that responsible innovation should be at the forefront of journalism.
Junior even provides some practical steps news organizations can take to foster this coexistence, doesn't he?
Yes. He suggests newsrooms establish clear ethical guidelines for using AI,
Okay.
invest in training for journalists on the responsible use of these tools,
Mm-hmm.
and create mechanisms for accountability and transparency.
It sounds like he's advocating for a culture shift within newsrooms, one where ethical considerations are baked into the entire process of news gathering and reporting.
Exactly. And that culture shift needs to extend beyond the newsroom and to include the audience as well.
Right.
We all need to be more discerning consumers of information.
Yeah.
And we need to hold news organizations accountable for their use of AI.
Well said. It sounds like there's a lot of work to be done,
Yeah.
but also a lot of potential for AI to positively transform the field of journalism.
I think so too. It's a challenging but also incredibly exciting time to be involved in this field.
We've covered a lot of ground in this discussion, but now let's move on to our final thoughts before wrapping up this deep dive. We've talked about AI's potential to really shake things up in journalism.
Yeah, it's huge.
But also how important ethics are, you know?
Right.
And a really savvy audience.
Absolutely.
Junior's article raises this crucial point.
Okay.
And I'd love to get your thoughts on this.
Sure.
He talks about the need for a shift in mindset.
Right.
For both journalists and news consumers.
Yeah, you're talking about that integration of innovation and ethics, right?
Exactly.
Like it needs to be at the forefront.
It's not just about adopting new technology.
Oh, definitely.
It's about doing so in a way that aligns with journalistic principles and values.
Absolutely.
Finding that sweet spot where technology actually enhances good journalism.
Instead of undermining it.
Instead of undermining it, exactly.
Yeah.
So newsrooms need to foster a culture where ethics is just part of the process.
Right. Like built in from the start.
From the very beginning, yeah.
Yeah, news gathering, reporting, editing, publishing, the whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah. Junior even provides some practical steps news organizations can take.
He does.
Like developing clear ethical guidelines for using AI, investing in training.
Yeah, training is huge for journalists.
And creating those mechanisms for accountability and transparency.
So being proactive.
Proactive, yeah.
Not just reacting to whatever comes along.
Exactly. And that brings to mind another point Junior makes.
Oh, okay.
That responsibility doesn't just fall on journalists.
It doesn't.
It's the audience, too.
Oh, for sure.
We're all part of this.
Absolutely.
So we have a role to play in shaping the future of journalism.
Yeah, we can't just passively consume information.
Right.
We got to be active participants, critically evaluating what we see and hear.
It's about recognizing that we have a choice.
We do.
In what we read, watch, and listen to.
Exactly. It's like we need to become information detectives.
I love that.
You know, constantly questioning, verifying, getting different perspectives.
And in a way, that's what good journalism has always been about.
Right.
Seeking truth, holding power to account, and helping people make sense of the world.
Couldn't agree more. Technology might be changing the tools and methods. But those core principles, those stay the same.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Okay.
what are some key takeaways our listeners can apply to their own lives?
Good question.
How can they navigate AI-driven journalism?
I think the most important takeaway is to be informed and engaged.
Right.
Don't just accept everything you see.
Right.
Question those sources, check facts. And remember, even AI-powered tools, they're only as good as the data they're trained on.
Right.
And that data can have bias.
It can, absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's not forget AI's potential for good.
Oh, totally.
As Junior points out, these tools can help journalists work more efficiently, uncover things, connect with audiences.
So many possibilities.
Yeah, so many possibilities.
Yeah.
So approach this tech with optimism, but also a little skepticism.
That's the key.
Find that balance.
Embrace the innovation.
But keep the integrity.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's a journey we're all on together.
It is.
And by having these conversations, we can shape the future of journalism
Absolutely.
in a way that benefits everyone.
Couldn't agree more.
This has been such a thought-provoking conversation.
It has.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
For this deep dive into AI and journalism.
Absolutely.
We hope you got some new insights to think about.
Yeah.
And to our listeners,
Yes.
thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.
Keep exploring this topic.
Yeah.
Share your thoughts with us on social media.
We'd love to hear from you.
Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.